Okay, it's recording.
All right, we're back. Episode 2 of Your Relationship Sucks. Here to answer the world's questions about relationships with obviously the foremost expert on them and myself, someone who has had has been unsuccessfully attempting to get a relationship, a long-term relationship going in yourself, obviously, people will get my takes, and then we'll see how wrong you are about whatever it is that you think about these questions.
Okay, so you're saying I'm going to give everyone a reasonable response, and you're just
Right.
gonna.
You're gonna give like an old maid answer, and I'm gonna give like a Prince Charming answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you remind everyone we're episode 2 and
Episode
of
2 of
what's
Your Relationship Sucks. Yeah.
your relationship sucks. That's right. So
That's accurate.
obviously,
That's accurate.
obviously we know more than everyone else. So the
That's
next
correct.
question I found, there's a bunch of different parts of this that I think you're going to find interesting.
Okay.
Okay. So it starts off with, I got married at 20, separated at 29, and divorced at 31. I guess I missed like the big headline is my ex-husband's girlfriend got everything I wanted. So that's how it grabs you
Okay.
from that. I'm not sure what the
Mm-hmm.
question is based off of the headline exactly, but it's, so married at 20, separated by 29. So that's 9 good years of marriage. And then the divorce lasted about 2 years, which just sounds terrible. And it was like a good divorce. It was because she wanted kids, he didn't, and then he lost his faith. So it sounds like kids and religion were the two factors. It took me a while to get back into dating. In my religion, divorce is looked down on, and finding a man who didn't find that a deal breaker was hard. I'm now dating someone with the intentions of marriage and hopefully children because I'm almost 36 and will be a high risk. Due to our religion, we haven't had sex yet, and they won't have sex until marriage. I have not seen my boyfriend for 6 months because of the pandemic. He is a first responder, and I live with my parents since my divorce, and they are high risk because they're older. So that's the background.
Okay.
My friends had a Zoom night recently, and my ex was present. I was informed ahead of time and made the decision to go along. In the background, his new partner said hi and then left. It was obvious that she was pregnant, and that hurts. I made an excuse to leave the Zoom and cried all night, then looked her up on social media. I've met her before at a few mutual friends' functions. You laugh, but that's like normal. I don't
Yeah, it's
know
a
if
terrible.
I
Yes,
would.
it's normal. It's terrible. Like, it's stupid. Why would you do that? It makes zero sense. Like, there's never. I don't think there's ever been anybody in the history of social media, which goes back, tens of years at this point, who has ever had a good experience after they were like, "Hey, I wonder what that person's doing now," or "Hey, I wonder how good that person's life is going to look on social media." Like, that's a terrible, stupid thing to do, right? Like, this lady is crying, which means she's sad, which means she's going to have a very cynical view of whatever she's doing at the time. And then she's like, oh, let me go look at the place where this other lady is going to present the best version of herself and how extraordinary her life is, while I'm super sad, probably sitting in a tub eating ice cream. Like, that's a stupid thing to do. That's just dumb. That doesn't make any sense. But yes, that's why I laugh, because it's never going to go good. There is a 100% chance that is going to go poorly, as it did. I'm assuming. What else did she say? Because I'm assuming it went terrible.
So they'd met before at some mutual friends like function. So this wasn't the first time she'd ever seen this woman. and she's been with my ex for the past 4 years, and she's been lovely. So it's like a nice lady. Like, she doesn't have a problem with her as a person. We don't look anything alike. I think this is where it's starting to really get down about what's making her sad. She's beautiful, thin, and small, while I've always been a bigger and taller. I'm white and she's Asian. She's smarter than me because she has a PhD while I only got a college degree when I was in my mid-20s, and she's younger than me. My friends mentioned that my ex was interested in joining more Zoom calls before they were alternating us, and asked if it would be fine because it's just easier. I want to be the better person and say yes because these are his friends too. I don't want my ex back. I'm happy he is happy, and I love my current boyfriend. But because his partner will obviously be in the background, they live together, and sometimes, and something I can't do with my boyfriend, and she's obviously pregnant, I don't want to see it. Because she got everything I wanted in my life, even if I don't want it with that man anymore, I don't know how I can deal with it all without being upset that my ex didn't want kids with me, but does with a younger, beautiful, unmarried woman. I don't want to never Zoom with my friends, and I know that alternating Zooms was annoying to all of them. What do I do?
Okay. Number one, the fact that this guy, and I'm not clear. I don't think she made it clear. We don't really know if this new girl is the first one after her. It kind of sounds like it though, because it sounds like they were divorced 5 years ago, and these two have been dating for 4 years. So maybe it was the first, maybe, whatever. But this is classic rebound, right? Like, everybody does this. I had one thing, it didn't go well. Let me go opposite of that because that one didn't go well. So let me go over here, right? Classic overcorrection. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying, like, that's going to happen, right? So that always happens. Nothing wrong with that. That's just human nature, right? So for her to think like it's some sort of rebuke of her as a person, and like she's tall and she's heavier and what, like, for her to think like, oh well, this guy was repulsed by that and so he went over here. No, he just wanted something he hadn't had. Like, that's how it works. That's how human beings are, right? Like, I had the steak, I want the chicken. Like, that's how it works, right? So that's something personal against her. Anybody's going to run into that. Secondly, this lady obviously wants this guy's baby. Like, that could not be more plain. She's not over him. Just flat out, she's not over this guy, right? And I'm not blaming her, right? Like, she fell in love. They got married at 20, probably had dated a little before that. So she's in love, but she's in her teens. She gets married. You said 9 happy years of marriage. I'm guessing it wasn't 9 full years of happiness. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten separated. But they had some good times, whatever. And then, some bad stuff happened, and then they got divorced. This lady spent a third of her life, right? At least a third of her life, from like 12 to 12, from 19 to like 31, right? And she's 36 now. So it's literally 12 years of her life that she spent with this person, right? Dealing with this person, whatever. She's obviously not over him. I'm not saying she should be. I'm not saying any of that, but she keeps saying like, well, I don't want this lady to have this. I don't want it with him, but I don't really want him to have it. Like, that's classic toddler stuff, right? Like, I don't want the toy, and then somebody else wants the toy, and you're like, actually, that toy is actually pretty cool, right? Like, she obviously still wants this dude. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to accept that fact. You have to accept that you're not over this other person. Otherwise, you're never going to get over this other person. You're always going to do that, right? Like, this is the first step in all of these things, is admitting that you have a problem. She has a problem. She's still in love with her ex. It doesn't mean she's not in love with her current boyfriend. That's hard. That sucks, right? Like, she can't see him. Okay, I get it. They're doing the right thing. He's doing the firefighter stuff. That's an important job. They're probably being smart. Like, she's living with her parents. They don't want the parents to get sick. Like, all of that's right. And I get it. That makes you sad, right? And when you're sad, you opine about things, right? And when you're sad, you start to see other people who have good things in their life, right? So not only is this lady sad because she's like, sees this lady's pregnant, But then she's sad that she can't be with her boy. She's just been sad for like this entire pandemic, right? So she's been sad for months at this point. And then she's like, let me go on social media. That's a terrible idea. Number one, what should you do? Stop looking at social media. Like, just don't look at social media. That's pretty basic. Don't look at his, don't look at hers. You don't have kids with him. There's no reason you need to be involved in his life, right? Other than they come to the Zoom calls or whatever and they do the thing. Other than that, there's no reason to be looking at their life. Because all that's going to do is make you sad. It's going to make you more depressed than you already are, because all they're going to do is show you, here's the good stuff that's happening in your life. You have no idea how it's going for them. Like, this lady's pregnant. That's a very stressful time. They might be fighting all the time. We have no idea, right? We have no clue what that's like. So number one, don't look at social media, right? Number two, accept the fact that you still have feelings for this guy. That's not wrong, but the more you protest about that, the harder it's going to be for you to understand what's actually happening in your life, right? There's nobody, I personally don't believe that you can get over love. I don't believe it. I don't believe you can get over it. I think you can get past a lot of feelings. I think you can distance yourself. I think all of those things are true, but you're always going to have those feelings, right? But if you,
I guess that's my thing. Is it wrong? Like, if you were with someone in some capacity for 12 years, I mean, even if that was like 2 years or whatever, I don't personally know if it's even wrong to not admit that you like might have feeling, like you have some, like, I have an ex-boyfriend from college. We were on and off for like maybe a total of 5 years. I don't like look at him and his wife and his kid and think like, oh, I want that life. But there's still there's some form of an attachment to him than there is for like like someone else that I dated, whatever. Like, that was a different type of feeling. Like, there's like, yes, you're happy for him. You hope, there's other things, and maybe that's not what she's feeling, but that feeling isn't the same. And I don't think it needs to be different. I don't know if that even makes sense. Like, I don't think that that's unhealthy to say, I care about this person. I mean, I haven't talked to them for a decade probably at this point. Like, I care about this person. There's something about this person that drew me in for a while, and there's a different feeling associated with that person. It's not something I think about in my daily life. It doesn't affect my life now, but I think that accepting of that is actually healthy. And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, well, 100%. Like, you have admitted that you still have feelings. And my guess is if he was more a part of your life, then you would still, those feelings would come back more, and you would think about it more, and it would pull on your heart more. And all of those things are true. This lady has these friends who are trying to be friends with all the people, whatever, all this stuff's complicated. Like, I get it. This guy's going to be in her life. She's going to continue to have these feelings. But to try to say I'm over this person is not something that actually happens. It never happens. It never will. If you fall in love with someone, or whatever, whatever that means, you will never get over that. It can diminish. It can become less part of your life. You can have new love. You can have all of those things. It will never not be part of your life. And if she doesn't admit it, if she won't admit that to herself, she's going to continue to have problems, right? You have admitted that with this other guy, right? With your ex-boyfriend. There's still things that happen. But if you were trying to deny it, then you would have to go out of your way to say, I'm not in love with him. I'm not any of these things. This lady has gone out of her way in this email to say, I am not in love with this guy anymore. She is obviously in love with this guy. Anybody who's not in love, I've never walked up to somebody and been like, hey, you know what? Not in love with you. Like, I don't have to do that. You know why? Because they don't assume that I'm in love with them, right? But if I started walking up to people, like I just walked up to a random stranger and I was like, hey, you know what? I don't love you. Those people are going to be immediately like, I kind of think this dude's in love with me. Doesn't matter who it is, just any random person. Their first thought is going to be like, I don't know, this guy is like came out of the blue and he's like, they're not in love with me. But this is a stranger, by the way. Like, I'm not even talking about someone that I know. I'm talking about just a random stranger on the street, right? They would be, I mean, first of all, they'd be like, why is this guy talking to me? Like, what the hell's going on? And then when they got past that, they'd be like, this is weird, right? Like, it would sink in their brain, right? And they'd go home, maybe not immediately, they'd be like, all right, like, get away from me, weird, right? Like who's this like weird, like creepy guy with a bald head and everything? Like, yeah, all right, get away from me. And then they'd go home, and that would just fester in the back of their mind, and it would just sit right there, and they would just pick at him and pick at him until later that night they'd be like, you know what? I kind of think that guy was in love with me because he randomly told me that he wasn't in love with me. That's what this lady is doing, right? Like, she is, the second that she was like, I'm over this guy, I'm like, you're obviously not over this guy. Because if you actually are, you don't even talk about it. You never talk about it. When people talk about things, when they verbalize things, those are things that is still affecting them, right? Like, I still talk about things, whatever in my life. Like, there's all kinds of things I still talk about in my life that have happened in my past because those things affect me, right? All of the things that I don't talk about in my past, I don't care about them. They're not important to me. I'm over them, right? Or at least I'm more over them than I am about the things I talk about. So number one, this lady needs to stop talking about her ex. Like, she's like, what do I do? I don't even understand what her question is. Like, I don't really get what she's trying to get out of this, right? Like, she just wants to not be sad anymore or whatever. If you want to not be sad, stop going on social media. Stop looking this guy up. Stop looking his wife up or his girlfriend or whatever. I guess they're not married, so whatever. Like, stop that. Just stop. This guy is obviously not the person you love, right? You said divorce is a big deal in your religion. That probably means that marriage is also a big deal. This is a guy who is, it sounds like, and maybe I'm wrong, but this sounds like this is a guy who's having a baby with a woman that he's not married to. That sounds like a problem in your religion.
That was also, I mean, it was one of the reasons why they broke up, is that
Great.
Sounds like they both had the same religion and conviction when they got married at 20, and that is still the same conviction she has now at 36, and it sounds like he did not believe the same thing, which I think he's entitled to as well. And they divorced, and he made it clear and confirmed that whatever their religion is not an important part of his life. And we don't even know, like, she's making the assumption, I think, based off of her view of marriage and kids, which is perfectly valid, is that this pregnancy was intentional. Who knows? Like, that's what you don't know if this pregnancy was even intentional. Like, and there's nothing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But, like, I mean, they obviously like each other. They've been together for 4 years. They live together. It sounds like recently pregnant. So, like, they were together for 3.5 years without having kids. Who knows if, like, that pregnancy was intentional? And at that point, then it's if it's not intentional, then it's like, do you believe in abortion or do you not? Like, there's probably a different conversation. And at that point, I don't know, like, if even people who are like, I don't want to have kids, I'm sure if they find out that they actually have made a kid, that doesn't mean that you continue to say, I don't want kids to the point where I also believe in abortion. That, like, accidents, like, accidental kids happen all the time, even in marriages. Just that being married doesn't mean you don't have an accidental kid to begin with. So that doesn't seem to be, like, an important part of his life is being married and all the other things, but it doesn't seem like it necessarily was. He changed his stance on having kids. It sounds like this kid might have, like, we don't know where the chicken came before the egg. And she's also mentioned a couple times that because of her religion, she can't have sex. She can't live with her boyfriend beforehand. And it seems like the way she's bringing it up to me is, from, like, my perspective, is that she seems like she would be happier if they were able to live together or see each other more. And that might be true, but at the same time, that to me also kind of reads like a social media, like you have an idealized version of, is living together something that's actually easier when you're in a relationship? I don't know. There's a lot of things that I think she wants to be at the stage in which her ex is, which is a little bit more solidified in being together, and at least in the fact that they live together and they can see each other daily, and they're having a kid, and she wants that. So, like, it seems like she's using his life markers as a comparison for where her life marker needs to be. And for me, she is very strong in her religion, but it's some of elements of that religion that seem to be what she's bringing up as, like, the reasons why she can't do things. And divorce is hard, so it's hard to find someone. And it almost seems like she's also, for better or for worse, not saying it's for worse, a little bit jealous of the freedom in which he was able to go about life after the divorce that she doesn't have because of her belief system.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of that is, I think all that's probably true. And like, what does she need to do? Number one, to your point, separate these two things. You're in a relationship now. You need to understand if that relationship is going somewhere. You haven't seen him. I don't really even know how that works, right? Like, so you haven't seen someone. Can you have a relationship like that? Is that something that you're okay with? Do you want more? Do you want to move in? All of those things. Those are all questions you have to ask with your new partner. Go hang out with your new partner or whatever. Like, I get it. Like, you can't hang out with them, like all that. Like, that's all fine. Talk with your new partner. Understand what your new relationship is doing. Separate that from this old stuff. Stop living in this guy's world. He doesn't share your religious beliefs. Great, not for you. He wanted a different person. Great, not for you. Like, whatever. That's what he wants. I don't know what to tell you. Or that's what he's chosen. Right? Maybe he doesn't even want that. I don't even know if he's happy. We have no idea. Doesn't matter. Stop living with him in your mind. Like, stop letting him rent space in your head. Get him out of there. Don't go on social media. Don't look at all this stuff. Do something for yourself. Focus on this new person. Focus on your life. Understand what's happening here. Stop keeping score. That's never going to go well for you, especially if the only way that you're understanding scores is what's happening on social media. Because you can't even post a picture with you and your boyfriend, right? Like, she can't even post a picture of her and her boyfriend because they can't see each other because he's doing something else, right? Because he's fighting fires and he, they don't want to risk the bringing the COVID in. Like, that's all fine. You can't even win that game. You're never going to win that game. Like, you can't even put up a picture of you smiling with your boyfriend. You can't do it. Stop trying to play that game. This guy lives with his pregnant girlfriend. They're going to win that social media game. They just will. Like, they're just going to win. Stop trying to play the game. What do you need to do? Stop doing that. Like, number one, stop doing that. Get out of there. Like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. If you don't want to go on the Zoom calls, don't go on the Zoom calls. Like, totally fine. Like, oh, well, my friends are getting annoyed that they have to have these separate Zoom calls. Great, they're your friends. They have to do that. Like, that's up to them. That's what you get with being friends with divorced people. If you want to continue to be friends with both divorced people, sometimes you have to make those sacrifices. That's up to them. You'll find out who your real friends are. Tell them, hey, I don't want to be on these calls, or hey, I don't want this girl to be on those calls. Like, that's fine. They'll understand, or they won't, and they'll stop being your friend. Either way, it doesn't matter. They're not your real friend anyways if they're not okay with it. They have chosen to be friends with both of you. Let them continue to have separate calls. I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's totally fine. Whatever. Like, that's how it is. If you don't want to be calls with your ex-boyfriend or your ex-husband, don't get on the calls. It's very simple. Just stop. I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is very simple stuff. Don't get on the call. Oh, I don't want to see a pregnant girl. Great. Don't be on the call then. I don't know. Or get on the call, turn off the video. Whatever. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, just stop doing it. It's not that difficult. But you have to understand that you're still in love with him. You still have feelings for him. I'm not saying that's wrong, but you still have those things. And while you try to pretend that you don't, and you try to play this game of let's get on social media and let's do all these things, it's never going to work. You're never going to win. You don't even have your significant other can't even help you win that game. That is a terrible thing to do. Just stop. It's not that difficult. Just stop doing it. That's the only advice I have for her. I still don't even really understand what her question is. But if that's what she was asking, like, should I get on these Zoom calls? Yeah, just keep telling your friends to have separate Zoom calls. It's not that difficult. And if they're like, we don't want to do that, then find the ones that they're willing to then only have calls with you. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, at the end of the day, until you admit that you're still in love with this guy, or you still have feelings for him, right? I'm not saying I'm not saying you want to get back with him. I'm saying until you admit that you still have feelings for him, and then move on to understanding that he's not for you because he doesn't share your beliefs, you're still going to hold out this hope, and you're going to be depressed because you're like, well, I'm hoping something happens, and then it's not going to happen, and you're going to be depressed that it doesn't happen. But you have to start with the first point until you can get to the last one. And starting with the first point is understanding that you still have feelings for this guy. As long as you keep protesting, everybody's going to be like, yeah, you're still in love with him. I guarantee every one of her friends still thinks she's in love with him, because she's probably said this to all of them, and they're all like, yeah, we get it. We've heard. Yeah, you're definitely still in love with this. He might still be in love with her. I don't know. But her friends definitely believe that she's still in love with him, because she is, like, at the end of the day.
So do you think if she phrased if her entire question had been phrased differently, like, it seems like she's more upset about the fact that the new girlfriend looks very different from her. Like, it's almost like, and like, there's the jealousy part. Like, if she had
Yeah,
worded
no,
it
she's
in a
Joe. This
way
whole thing is she's Joe.
that, but if she had worded this in a way that was, not as focused on those points, but just that it hurts her that someone who told her they didn't want to have kids is now having kids. Is that the same like, from your point of view, is that the same as like, oh, she's still in love with him? Because I do think that our world's
100%,
value
absolutely.
system like
No,
comes up with
100%.
there's this great, there's a dichotomy, like you're either in love with someone or you're not in love with someone. Like you can care about and like have residual feelings that you once had, but still be very thankful that that is like not your life. But I don't know if you understand what I'm saying on that note.
What I'm saying is she doesn't possess the ability to phrase this question any differently because she still won't admit that she's in love with this guy. She literally does not possess the ability to do that because emotionally she's not ready to phrase it in a different way. I understand what you're saying. I think there's some truth to that. What I'm telling you is this woman, until she admits that, does not possess the ability to phrase it any differently than she did. It came out exactly the way that she didn't want it to, but a way she didn't think it would, because she's not willing to admit, she's not willing to take the blinders off. She's got the blinders on as it's tunnel vision. It's the only way this question could have come out. She has tunnel vision, and that's a problem. And she needs to solve that problem first before she does anything else. Because that's not fair to the new guy. That's not fair to her. It's not fair to any of this stuff. She's going to be very sad until she admits there's some feelings, but it's not what she ultimately wanted, because she still thinks that this guy is the dude that she met when she was 20 years old, and he is obviously not, but she still has those thoughts in her head, and she's like, oh, that's the guy I'm missing out on. And I'm like, no, you're not even seeing the facts.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not the guy. To your point, it's obviously not the same dude, and yet she can't get over that because she still has it in her head. And when she starts to admit that, then she'll start to see. She'll be like, oh, you know what? That was a nice time. That did help me. I did learn some stuff, but he's not the same. I'm not the same. That's totally fine. Let me see about this new guy. Maybe he's okay. That's the only way that's going to happen, is if she admits that she's still in love with this guy, and it's because he has this, she's still thinking about him 16 years ago. She's still thinking he's the same guy that he was 16 years ago. He's not. She can't see that. But that's the only way she could have phrased it, because she's not willing to take the blinders off. So yes, I think it's possible, to answer your question. I think it's possible, but I don't think she possesses the ability to ask that question in any other way, because she's still in love with him, and she won't admit it.
Yeah. So to summarize, which I do agree with, is if this upsets you, don't continue doing it anymore.
It's really
like,
not that
why,
difficult.
If you are upset about it, especially like having to, like, I mean, the thing with the ex-girlfriend, if she's pregnant, like there's going to be a baby eventually, that's going to be like in your face, and you're going to see it grow if you're like assuming we're going to have Zoom
probably
for a
a cute
while.
baby,
But I mean,
honestly.
even at what?
Probably a cute baby.
Yeah.
Just don't go on social media.
She's
It's not that hard. What should she do? Don't go on social media. Just you know what? Delete social media. Just delete it. Just delete it. Just stop. Just take it off your phone. That's my answer. That's what she should do. Delete it. Delete social media. Forget everything else. Just delete social media. Keep the blinders on. Delete social media. It's gonna make your life way better. Just it's not that difficult. Just stop going on social media. This woman is not equipped to handle that. I don't know what to tell you.
And we'll end it there, because I do think everyone should just not be on social media.
Yeah, exactly. Except for this
Even though
channel,
I am. Yeah.
watching this one and giving us whatever you're supposed to give, the likes and all the stuff or whatever, so that I can do this full time and not have to work. That part's okay. All the other social media, get off of that.
Well, thankfully, no one else has to come on our Zoom calls and watch their ex's pregnant person in the background.
Well,
so
as of now, at least. So yeah, hopefully it stays that way.
Maybe we'll have a couple guests and see how that turns out.
Maybe.
It's just going to be some really awkward Zoom calls is all I'm saying. This friend group seems to like be pretty dedicated to Zoom calls, which I just am kind of impressed with. And that was also interesting to me. I'm just going to be honest. Like, that's pretty cool that they're still constantly apparently Zoom calling.
Yeah. They should just stop with her. Like, whatever, it's fine. Like, just this woman just needs to separate herself. Whatever. Like, let's just make sure that she ends it. She gets over, whatever she can't figure out how to get over, you know?
Yeah. Best of luck to her. Cut that
Yeah.
social media
All right.
umbilical cord.
And we will see everybody on the next episode of Your Relationship Sucks.
It does.